How do you keep your message consistent when you try new things with your personal brand? If you're tired of the old cookie-cutter marketing advice and want to take your personal brand to the next level with bold, actionable strategies that truly reflect you, you're in the right place. Let's untangle your marketing mayhem with Zoe, the video confidence coach, on the Unboring Your Brand podcast. Unboring Your Brand was recorded on Wadawurrung land. Trying new things with your personal brand is great until you confuse your audience with how much they have no idea what you actually do, or the message becomes so diluted that it's very hard to understand what you stand for and who the right person is that you cater to, but also who they can send your way. So one day you might be sharing expert tips. The next you're on the deep side of a side quest about your new hobby. Yes, it can be fun. I do not blame you at all on that front. But for your brand, maybe not. So let's go through a way that you can start experimenting with your personal brand and the areas of interest that you focus on and the projects that you focus on without losing your brand identity. Because it's how you stay consistent while also keeping things fresh that will mean that people will stick by you and consistently refer you to potential clients, the right type of people, and ultimately you grow your audience. So we'll start off with a couple of steps here. We've got 3 steps. We have to lock in your core message. Step 2, create content pillars to stay focused. And step 3, test new ideas without confusing your audience. Now, of course, everything that I'm going to touch on is what I do with my clients, with my various projects that I run, all my various services that I run for my clients. This one is specifically my Glow and Grow people. So everyone who's gone through my Glow and Grow sessions will know how this process works. But essentially what I'm going to go through with you today, and I'm going to provide you a little bit of context on how this community question came up, was I was working with someone who was very much, I'm trying to say this without giving everything away because of course this is private information that we spoke to. What happened is they were very much known for one part of the industry. So, for example, they worked in styling. So they worked in architecture. They were very much the go-to person when talking about a specific style of architecture and in the communities that she was a part of. And she loved doing that work and she loved focusing on that area. But then as she retired from her main career, and not exactly in retirement, but more semi-retirement, to be honest, I don't think she can actually retire. I don't think it's even possible physically for her to do that. But she is moving to a more slowed down opportunity, but relying more on her personal brand. Now, of course, she can continue and still do a lot of projects regarding architecture, but she has other interests too, other hobbies too, that she wants to spend her time and her focus on. And because she is a pillar of this community, a lot of people are not worried for her, but she is more worried about what other people will think if she deviates at all from that really clear, solid trajectory in the architecture field. So what we did was going through these steps of being able to break down, okay, why exactly do people follow you? Your personal brand, whether you realize it or not, exists. You have a personal brand. And some people don't go their entire lives without really thinking about their reputation or how people perceive them because maybe it's just not a priority for them. And that's perfectly fine. But you're listening to the Video Confidence Coach, and my focus is marketing and personal branding. So methinks that you want to focus on your personal branding, on how to grow your personal brand, as well as how to maybe pivot or change your personal brand. So that's what we're going to touch on today in the community question. So step 1 is locking in your core message. So your brand, so be it a small business, be it a personal brand, or a combination of the two, your brand is the one big idea behind everything you create. It's what you want to be known for. So for someone like the example I showed you before, yes, she is in architecture, but she wants to be known as when focusing on eco styling, on not just the architecture, so the actual building and layout of a space, but making sure that it's energy efficient, making sure that the materials that you use are friendly both to the planet and to you as the person living in the space. She wants to make sure that she's not building these or designing these large houses that no possible one person could use. But also she wants to be able to focus on the other materials in the home, to be able to focus on styling or interior decorating. Yes, they are somewhat parallel fields in the field of architecture. But to be honest, from what I understand and what I managed to get a feeling of, is that the interior design and the architectures don't like to mix that much because they are very different skill sets, as you can probably imagine. So for you, I want to think and be able to think back as to what is the big idea, what is the core message that you are focusing on with your brand. Ask yourself, what is the problem that you solve? And without all the jargon, without all the things around that may distract you from this question, what is the problem that you solve? What is your unique perspective? How does my content, so how does the way that you portray yourself, both online and in person with your brand, help your audience? And the last question that I usually ask my clients is, why should your audience care? Now, usually this does feel a little bit targeting and a little bit triggering, so do not worry. I understand where you're coming from, where you feel a little bit attacked by that question. But ultimately, if you weren't you, and you were looking at someone like yourself who is growing a personal brand, pivoting or changing, or maybe starting to invest in their personal brand, why should you care? And from that point, once you actually start thinking about why you should care, feel free to check out our other podcast episodes about that to get more deep into that question. Every new idea should connect back to your core message, your core why, your core reason for being. If your idea does not connect to that idea, then maybe it's something for your personal hobby and personal interests as opposed to a topic for your brand. If your audience had to sum up your brand in one sentence, what would they say? That's your core message. So if you're struggling to figure out what exactly would my audience care about, maybe start asking some family, some friends, some colleagues, or some other business people that are in your vicinity that you can ask when, put them in give it context, of course, and just ask, how would you describe me to someone who probably, fits my needs? How would you go about that? And the words and the focus that they use is where you should put your focus. Now, of course, this means spending time thinking about these things, but I'll tell you now that the amount of time that you spend thinking about these core messages and your reason why for doing what you do is going to help you thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in marketing yourself and making decisions in your business. And the second step I want to get to is creating content pillars to stay focused. So this is usually the next step after we've been able to nail down that core message, to be able to help you with your consistent messages and your new ideas that you're coming up for your brand, to be able to have 3 to 5 themes that keep your message clear, even when you mix things up, even when you try new things, when you try trends, when you try anything that just come across your sphere and you like the look of. If it can fit into one of these 3 to 5 categories, then it definitely suits your way, it suits your audience, but it also puts things into perspective, so then you can actually start coming up with more ideas from that one idea. What I mean by this is, say for example, for a business coach, let's say a marketing business coach. I don't know if you know any. You've got these main themes, or these pillars, as we like to call them, which could be something as simple as marketing tips, personal branding strategies, productivity hacks, and behind the scenes running of a business. Now, as you can imagine, those are pillars that are very related to the work that I do. And when I start thinking of ideas, I start putting them into these categories, not just in my head, but to be able to write them down and put them in a repository of ideas. So whenever I need something that is about productivity hacks, I can just go into that document, into that spreadsheet, into that wiki, into, again, whichever way I've organized my ideas, a book or notebook. I can then go to that pillar, find that idea, and be able to action it relatively easily and consistently because I've already done the thinking, I've already thought the ideas, and because it's already in a nice pillar, then I can start thinking about, okay, if something's in productivity hacks, I can easily turn this into smaller content for social media. I can create a series of email newsletters. I can start thinking of the formats already just from the idea alone. Now, of course, the way that you start marketing things is a lot of people, especially when I work with, they have a tendency of thinking of the end goal of how the audience is going to receive this message. That is a very understanding and very clear way of thinking about it. But the reason that I ask people is to think of these more expansive ideas. Then you can think about, so say for example, what I mean by this is for the example that we're going through this particular video, she wanted to become a go-to person regarding eco-architecture in Geelong. Well, not Geelong, but Australia-wide. So for that, she needed to be able to show not just that her knowledge in the space is incredibly consistent and also ever-evolving, but also that she is the right person to speak to for these speaking opportunities, for these panel discussions, for these radio shows, and to make sure that we can give the people what they want. She needs to be able to answer consistent questions. And we're able to come up with a list of 50 ideas, and each of these ideas could be extrapolated into, hours-long podcast conversations, all the way into very short 30-second social media videos. It could be stretched into multiple articles. The best way to put it is the core idea is what you need, and then you can expand from then in no matter whatever format you find useful, then also what your audience finds useful. But of course, this takes time and effort and energy. So when it comes to actually actioning these things, being able to figure out, and in the moment when you have an idea, is it able to fit in one of those pillars? And is there a way to tweak it if it doesn't fit into one of those pillars to make it fit? And if not, then maybe it's not the right fit for you right now in what you're trying to build with your brand. So in that case, it's something that you can put on the back burner, or you can put in a hobby space for interest. Your brand should feel like a playlist, not like a random shuffle of unrelated ideas, but a very clear, consistent track of ideas for your audience. Because again, they are the ones dictating whether or not you get clients, but also your audience are also the ones who dictate the word of mouth, how people talk about your brand. So it helps to give them the right material to use. You get where I'm coming from. And the last step that I want to touch on is testing new ideas without confusing your audience. So of course, as we're getting into the weeds about making sure your message is consistent when trying new things, is being able to start small. Being able to post once and see how people react. Are you going to try a new trend? Maybe it's something on TikTok or Instagram or Blue Sky that's like a trend going around. Test it out, do a one-off thing and see what your audience feels like. Are they liking it? Are they disliking it? Are they neutral? And if it's neutral, you can decide where to go from there. Make sure to test out your ideas by tying it back to a core message. So for example, for a leadership coach, let's imagine they're sharing a story of failure in their own lives. Does it make sense? For example, is something like sharing that their cat is having a birthday? Maybe not, unless their cat is a CEO. That is also a possibility. But in that opportunity, you can be able to, once we've gone through the core message and we've able to go through those pillars, you're able to make a lot more clearer discerns between whether or not something suits your brand or not, because you can try new things while also being able to stick back to their core message. If your audience loves it, keep going. If not, no harm done. You'll see this, and now that you've you know this tactic for yourself, you'll start seeing other people in your industry, in the space, or maybe in complementary spaces to wherever you're focusing your work. You'll be able to see other people try this. They try new things. Maybe they post one type of post on a specific platform to see the engagement. And then once they get the thumbs up from that one platform, then they start reaching it out to every other platform. Because maybe that audience is their test audience when it comes to not just social media posts, but maybe emails, newsletters, podcasts, videos, articles. Whichever they get the best feedback on is the thing that they pursue. Your tone and your style should always stay the same because, of course, we're all bringing it back to your personal brand. Even if the topic evolves or devolves, usually in my case, that way your brand can also feel recognizable. So no matter whatever you're trying, no matter whatever new you're trying with your personal brand, it is still you at the end of the day. And honestly, that is what your audience cares about. Because they're following you, not just because you're the influencer, you're the guru, you're the king. No, they're not following you usually for that. It's because you can help them. You can solve their problem. And if you're consistent with that message, they're going to be consistent with you. My final thought before I finish off today's video is experiment but stay recognizable. Trying new things is how you grow your brand, how you grow your small business. But confusing your audience is not part of the process. Keeping your core message clear and using content pillars to be able to not just keep them on track, but to keep you on track as well when coming up with your new ideas and seeing if something fits the mold of where you want to be with your brand. Testing new ideas without going off the rails is going to help you also keep your stress levels down, as well as being able to achieve your bigger goals. So what I'm asking for you to comment in the comments below or above, wherever they happen to be, what is your new idea that you've been dying to try out? Does it fit your personal brand? And even if it doesn't fit your personal brand, will your audience mind? Will your audience care? If it's a one-off thing and you enjoy it, awesome, because again, you're testing things out. Maybe something that you will try once, your audience absolutely loves and raves about, and because you enjoyed it, you feel like doing it again and again and again and again, and you're able to both grow your audience, but also grow that connection you have with your audience. And in turn, hopefully, get the leads and get the money. Now, as you can imagine, that kind of comes with the territory of a personal brand. So I want you to go test these ideas, and don't forget who you are at the end of the day, because your personal brand is a reflection of you, and hopefully you are there to serve others. Thank you for listening or watching Unboring Your Brand. You can find detailed show notes with tools, offers, and episode transcriptions. Just click the first link in the description or go to vcc.training/podcast. Get involved and ask me anything about personal branding, video strategy, or just a friendly small business chat via my email, g'day@vcc.training. That is gday@vcc.training. The Video Confidence Coach would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which I record my podcast. I pay my respects to their elders past and present. I stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Look forward to me chatting at you next week, superstars.